What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So the latest polls are in. I'm going to show you guys the latest polls from Real Clear Politics. And right now, Trump is still leading when it comes to overall polls. We're going to take a look at this, take a deep dive into what's going on when it comes to the presidential election of 2024. If you guys can do me a favor, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification, clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And just a reminder, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter and Threads, you can at the TEC Show Live. You can also follow my travel adventures on Instagram at Travel Explore Click. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll move right over, and we're going to take a look at some of these polls. And I like to use Real Clear Politics. So if you guys have been watching me, you know this. And the reason that I like to use Real Clear Politics is because what they'll do is they will do an average of all the polls. So you see at the top right corner here, it says Trump plus 1.7. So that means that all these polls, they've created an average for all these polls, and Trump is leading in all these polls. Okay, so I shouldn't say leading in all the polls. His average is plus 1.7 when we look at every poll. Now, when it comes to polls, it's really hard because they're pulling different amounts of people. So here, this messenger poll, they had 4,003 people. They're registered voters. Economists slash YouGov, they polled 1,323 people, registered voters. Some of them will just vote. They'll just poll adults. Some of them down here that will poll likely voters. So the polls are all over the place. And sometimes it's good to have a website that will actually compile all these polls together and give you an overall average. So right now, the overall average, like I said, Trump plus 1.7. Now, let's look at some of these polls in a little more detail, okay? So when we're looking at, we'll look at this messenger poll at the top here. So this poll was done November 22nd through November 28th. As we stated, 4,003 registered voters, margin of error 1.6, and then here are the results. Trump, 52%, Biden, 48%. So Trump gets plus 4. Now, when we were looking at this poll last week, we're looking at some of the polls last week, we saw this. I'm going to draw a straight line here. Let's see if I could do it better. So, whoop, I still can't. Okay, so we basically saw Trump leading in all these polls. So when you're looking at this time period here, Trump is leading in pretty much every poll except for this Rasmussen poll that's down here. So that's a strong, I mean, that's showing you right there, even though you have all these different polls and they're pulling people from different areas, registered voters, likely voters, adults, all that, you saw that Trump was dominant here. Every poll he won. So recently, just last week, we saw that President Biden actually won 2 polls, okay? So looking at the Economist YouGov poll, 1,323 registered voters, margin of error 3.1, and Trump got 42%, Biden got 44%. Very interesting to note, the margin of error is 3.1%. So this is within the margin of error, which means this is really kind of a dead heat. So even though they have Biden plus 2, it's really, realistically, a neck-and-neck race in this poll. Now, looking at the morning consult, 6,527 registered voters. Margin of error is 1%. And then you had Trump, 42, and then Biden, 43. Again, margin of error, 1%. So pretty much puts this poll at a dead heat. Okay, so Biden still comes out on top, but I'm just trying to show you within that margin of error, we're looking at a neck-and-neck race. So, and we can look at some of the others here. You see Emerson poll here, 1,475 registered voters, margin of error 2.5%, and we have 47% Trump, 43% Biden. Within that margin of error, Trump still would have a lead, even if you gave Biden the 2.5% margin of error. You increased him by, what would that be, 45.5. Just doing an overview of the polls, you see that former President Trump is leading. Now, do the polls mean anything right now? I would say I like to talk. I like to look at the polls. I like to kind of see where people are, but it's very early to be looking at national polls and looking at the presidential race on a national level. It's very early because we don't have, I mean, for the most part, we know that President Biden will win his primary because he doesn't have really any opposition. And then when we look at former President Trump, he's probably going to win too because he really doesn't have any opposition. Even though he has people that are running against him, they're not even over 20%. They're not even close to him. And so what we'll need to see is some real consolidation, which we're starting to see that in the Republican races. We're seeing the consolidation. We're seeing some of these candidates drop out. And if we could see it consolidate to a point where maybe you have one or two, let's say you have DeSantis and you have Haley, and those are the only two, and they're running against former President Trump, then we might see numbers closer. But right now, former President Trump is far ahead of them. And that's probably the main reason why he's not doing the debates. He doesn't need to. And even though he's not doing the debates, he's still far out in front of them. So they're not really affecting him at all. Now, what will affect him is the fact that he has 91 felony charges against him, and he's going to have to be going in and out of court. That will affect him. That will impact his race because now he's going to have to be splitting time between court and running for office. And so there's going to be, we'll have to see how he handles that. But no candidate on the Republican side has been able to infiltrate or actually get to a point where they can challenge him. They're not at that level yet. So we'll have to see what happens. There's going to be a debate on Wednesday. If I put this video out, I might put this video out on Wednesday. I'm not sure exactly, but there will be a debate on this Wednesday. And so we'll have to see what comes of that debate. But what we really want to see is we want to see Republicans consolidate. Running for president on the Republican side, consolidate down to maybe one or two, and then let them fight it out and see if they can damage former President Trump at all when it comes down to it. So I wanted to show you guys the polls. I'm going to keep up to date with the polls and let you guys know what's going on there because it's very, very crucial. And I keep saying this. I can't say this enough. We have 3 more election cycles, presidential election cycles, before something needs to be done when it comes to Social Security, before the trust fund runs out of money. And so one of these presidents in the next 3 presidential cycles will have to address this, okay? So that's why I think it's really important for us to focus on this, especially people like me who are retired, and we're really looking at, okay, what will be afforded to us when it comes to Social Security and Medicare and all that stuff. It's very important for us to focus on this because we're looking at the presidents that will probably have, we're looking at the president now, we're looking at the candidates that could potentially have to address this issue. Looking at President Biden right now, we're looking at the candidates that are running for president. They could have to address this in the very, very near future. And so it's imperative that we make the right choice. So I want to know what you guys think about the polls. Let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.